1979, little me shook hands with George Lucas, who shared the dream of revolutionizing the movie industry by making a full-featured film 100% through computer animation, when neither the technology, software, nor blueprints were even invented yet. Yet, we animate some of your favorite childhood movies, continuing to bring to life worlds you never imagined were possible. I was Vice President of Industrial Light and Magic, digitally creating the X-Wings you see flying in Star Wars films. The challenge wasn't just creating it, but creating it on computers that had less technology than an Apple smartwatch. It took nearly 3 years, but we hit our big milestone when we helped develop digital image compositing, which combined multiple images together in a convincing and realistic way. But after 7 years of research and development, we started costing more money than we made for George, and we knew there was a high chance he would sell the division. Among colleagues, we all knew what we were: sacked. No backing, no direction, and no time. But just when I was going to tell my family that I was going to be unemployed, we met a man who'd just been ousted from his own company and was looking for crazy, ambitious individuals like us. He loved the technology we built, our vision to create something that many said wasn't possible. He, like us, was a pioneer and was the only person willing enough to invest in a company that was losing more money than we were making. So we took our computers and a team of 40 tech prodigies and began working under our new leader, Steve Jobs. Out of the thousands we had created, we sold less than 300 computers. Many called us failures, saying the computer was too complicated and too expensive, and that the animation was poor. Hearing those words broke me. It made me wonder if I had wasted my life on something completely worthless, and if I would ever amount to anything. And just as I was believing my life was nothing but failure, we unexpectedly received a call that made me remember why we were fighting so hard to change the world. It turned out that from that small 300 computers that we sold, Disney Animation Studios was one of the few that purchased one. They too did not like our computers, but they loved our ideas and saw what we were capable of achieving. So instead of trying to create computer-animated films themselves and buying individual computers from us, they proposed an entirely new deal. So we got straight to it. We designed and developed the tech. We modeled characters, we lit scenes, we calculated the trajectories of light rays. It was calculus, mixed with caffeine and a side of too much pizza and Chinese takeout. It took days, weeks, and months. By the end of it, I and my esteemed colleagues were more fried than the CPUs. But we had it ready, our most seminal short film, Luxo Jr., a 2-minute animated short film about a lamp and a ball. It was slow and it was rough, but it was the most beautiful creation we had ever created, and it would serve as our future mascot. It was an instant classic, received well by audiences, and even nominated for an Oscar. I felt like we did it, but we couldn't celebrate because we were too busy worrying about finances. Steve thought after all this work, people would line up in droves begging to buy our technology. But it turned out we spent so much time that we were now on the verge of bankruptcy. Maybe people would have lined up, but we didn't even have the money to open the doors to customers. Imagine that. We were running out of money while we sat on technology that might as well have been magic. In any failure, there are two parts. There is the event itself, with all the disappointment, confusion, and shame, and then there is our reaction to it. It is this second part that we can control. So, we took control. We tinkered on the side and learned to walk, as Steve would say. And finally, with the money we made from those commercials, we were able to strike a deal with Disney. It was one promise, one shot, a historic $26 million deal. We redirected all of our energies into this one movie for Disney. We had to. Now, one wrong move, and it was back to square one. It was the biggest gamble of my life, but I believed in what we were doing. So what if we'd failed a lot of times? If you aren't experiencing failure, then you are making a far worse mistake. You are being driven by the desire to avoid it. And so, we got to work. We locked the doors, made a list of do's and don'ts. We didn't want an I want song. We didn't want a villain, no happy villages, no love story. And when we were finally ready, we submitted a script to Disney, a script that we thought would impress all those stakeholders. It was a disaster. So much so that production on the film had to be stopped immediately. They weren't mad, they were disappointed. They needed time to reconsider the script and probably the deal. In hindsight, we were lucky they didn't immediately demolish our offices and sell our computer as junkyard scrap. So, we held our breath. Our dream was hanging by a thread. I prepared for the worst, for the door to shut in our face for the last time. Until finally, they approached us with one word: rewrite. A second chance. This time we decided we would write an entirely new film, one that embodied what we truly believed in. We weren't movie writers, and we barely had experience in filmmaking, having no idea where to even begin. But we knew one thing. This version wasn't going to be for those stakeholders or for Disney. It was going to be for us. A movie that spoke about friendship, goodwill, and acceptance, which were all things we were going through. A story that would bring people young and old together. A story that would continue for generations. It was a toy story. They loved it, and instantly we were given the green light to continue with production. We began hiring any creator willing to work for us, which wasn't many because we paid so little. But the people who did join understood that they were going to be a part of something larger than themselves, because Toy Story isn't just our first computer-generated film. It is a film that took nearly a decade to accomplish because we had to create our technology and innovate every day. It is a film that battled through bankruptcy and uncertainty. It is a film about a studio that dared to make the impossible possible. When Toy Story released, it surprised the world. And had it failed, we wouldn't be here today creating our computer-animated featured films. But it didn't, and it was the biggest and best gamble of all of our lives. Disney was so impressed, they ended up signing multiple movie deals with us, creating the partnership you now know as Pixar Animation and Disney Studios. Eventually, Disney bought us for $7.4 billion in an all-stock deal, making the man who funded and supported our journey, Steve Jobs, the largest shareholder of Disney. Throughout the years, we created films that continue to be loved by millions around the world. Films like Finding Nemo, a movie about a loving father who chases after his son only to learn that he needs to let go. Monsters, Inc., a film that teaches us to give people a chance despite our differences. Or Ratatouille, a film about a rat who can cook because not everyone can become a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere. It wasn't just me. It was a team effort with people who had grit and passion for what they loved. My name is Edwin Catmull, and I am one of the many people who Pixar dared to dream with nothing but our imaginations and the vision to take moviegoers on an entirely new journey to infinity and beyond.